and welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. I am your host, Christine Innes. I am delighted because we have the very beautiful Steph joining us. Welcome, lovely. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Christine. I'm so excited to be here.
Look, you're amazing. Like, honestly, I just go to my ideal client and I go, it's Steph. Like, all these things, like, you're just super amazing. And I love what you bring. And I can't wait for the conversation that we're going to have today. But I can get carried away. So I'm going to hand it over to you first. I'm going to get you to introduce everyone. And then we're going to sit down and have a really beautiful conversation and share so much with our audience today.
Excellent. Thank you, Christine. So as you said, my name is Steph Gobraiel and I'm an online business manager. I help businesses grow and I help founders step into the CEO role in order to be able to grow their business. And I do that through 7 foundations in business, and I have been doing it for 4 years now, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love it. I love it. And it's so important, isn't it? Like, if we talk about, being a CEO, like it is a title. However, I think everybody has a CEO inside of them. Like we're a CEO as a mum, we're a CEO in our life, we're a CEO in business. So it's really mapping out those processes, what you do to be able to, allow them to shine and to step into their true talent.
Absolutely. And I think it also comes back to Christine being able to take a step back, to be able to outsource things, in business and in life, not just, business, in order to have the headspace to be able to, grow your business, to be able to get things done around the house and with family and the rest of it. At the end of the day, we are only one person. And it's okay not to have to do it all. I think that's one of my biggest lessons from my business journey this, so far. And I had a very different mindset before. So it's okay, not to have to do everything.
Absolutely. I think sometimes that we have to give ourselves permission. I talk about this a lot, is like we actually just say, it's okay for me to do this. It's okay for me to have a day off or to have some downtime. And I feel like it's like that little kid inside of us asking for permission that it's okay to do something. I think we've just lost Steph. Alrighty. So you're going to love it. Like we all have technical difficulties like in life and in business. So let's just jump right into it. But like I was saying, like, it's that little kid inside of us sometimes that has to ask for permission.
Thank you.
All right, take 2. Let's go. I love this sort of stuff. Like, honestly, like everyone freaks out about it. I'm like, oh no, like it's all good. Because let's just face it, okay? Like what's just happened? This happens every single day. And it's literally how you can, if you talk about being a CEO, it's actually dealing with those moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I always like to say, Christine, it's always great having a plan B because you never know what could happen in life. There's heaps of things that can happen. And if you've got a plan B, just sitting there, shelve it. At least you've got something there to fall back on as well.
So much so. I love that. I love it. Now, you are a #1 Amazon bestseller. Congratulations. So I was so delighted that you came on board for our latest book. And, for me, what you shared about the mum guilt, like even now, my son's 26 and I still have mum guilt. Like I don't think it ever ends. But how is like that with you? Obviously, how now can you help so many other, especially women who are starting their own business, really actually comprehend the fact that it's okay to do something for yourself?
So it was a major learning for me, Christine, because I don't think we talk about it enough as well in our society, and how much it can pain some women. Like some women are okay with it and that's fine, but there are other women where it really hits home, and that's what it did for me. And I never thought it could, just be so massive, in our lives, sort of thing, to have something make us feel like this, and it's coming from within. And I think just over time, I sort of came to the conclusion that, we're doing the best that we can, no matter what that is. And we've got to just tell ourselves and sort of talk ourselves off that ledge to say that no matter where our children are, they're going to be safe and they're going to be okay. Otherwise, we would not be putting them, in that place, like daycare, for example. And it's okay to want something for ourselves because, another thing we don't talk about is, when we have kids, we become mum. And it's almost like we lose our own identity, in the process. And again, this is something we don't talk about enough, and it's okay to have both, your own identity and to be a mum, but it shouldn't be in some ways mum first because, that's not who we are. We were a person before we became a mum, right?
Definitely.
And yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much because I think, just having the conversation and like what we're doing today is just raising that awareness so that people actually feel safe, that it's okay to talk about it, that you're not alone in this scenario, because I would say that 99% of mums out there have already thought this and then they've gone, oh, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to feel like, well, who am I to say something? But it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, and we don't talk about it enough, Christine. We really don't, and it's like mum to mum when you talk about it, they're like, oh yeah, I feel that too, but everyone's afraid to, to really voice how much it can take a hold of us, because at the end of the day, these babies came from us. It's not like, we grew them, in the garden or whatever to have that detachment from them, so it's so important. We don't talk about it enough. And sometimes when I talk about it, people go, oh, yeah. But then they're like, when I talk about it in detail, how much it affected me, they're like, oh, wow, you don't usually hear about people being able to step up and talk about it in that way because everyone talks about motherhood as the most beautiful thing and, like the icing on the cake, but when you drill down into those layers, it's far from that. You're sleep deprived. You've got brain fog. You're trying to juggle children, home, business, everything, especially if you don't have that support. And another thing I'm seeing a lot out there now is, people making reels and videos about where is this village everyone talks about, because there is no such thing. We're in a very different time, and as much as we have social media, it's so isolating, being at home with a baby because, like it's not like, in our parents' day where people would check in on you and see how you're doing, if you need anything, like half the time, like I don't even know my neighbors, to be honest, Christine, let alone have a village of people around me, So it's a very different time that we live in, and we're having children. So
yeah, no, definitely. I can so relate to that because I mean, I moved around quite a fair bit. So literally it was just me and my son or, and, close friends that were, that I met along the journey. But it was funny that like I've come back now full circle to be close to the family, like after my son's all grown up. So, I've sort of like come full circle with it. But I now get to see it. So, my daughter-in-law is actually in labor right now, having the second baby. So,
wow.
so I get it, and it is like, who's around, who's to help, and it's almost like, well, you go ahead and you do that. But it's only when we get to the absolute despair do we put a hand up. But how about we put a hand up when we just get that little inkling going, I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel a little bit off, but just to sort of get that, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to have those moments in life. It's okay for us to not be happy 100% of the time because it's life.
Exactly. And having kids teaches you that, I think, more than anything, Christine, because you're navigating uncharted waters, you don't know what to expect. And it's this constant journey, of, what's to come sort of thing, and, it's you're not to know, like you had control of your life sort of thing before children to a certain degree. And, when you have children, it's a completely different, you're playing in the ocean, sort of thing. You don't know what's to come. You don't know, what your child's going to be like, whether they're going to have, special needs or whatever it may be, So, and that's the thing, we don't talk about that sort of stuff enough. You know, it's all hush hush. Why is it hush hush? We live in the 21st century where we talk about, you know, very other taboo topics, you know, when this shouldn't be one. You know, this is part of everyday life. And let's be honest, you know, like it's, I don't know the statistic, but every second, you know, woman is a mum, or every, say, fifth person mum, you know, every, say, fifth woman is a mum. So this shouldn't be a taboo topic at all, you know.
No.
But, you know, I think I've been reflecting on this chapter, Christine, and I think there, my biggest takeaway now from it is the fact that in what you want to do as a mom, as a business owner, as everything, you know, as you know, as a person, sort of thing. Because empowerment used to be, you know, the ambitious person, woman that can look after herself and do it all, and that was me, right? But now it's like you don't have time for self-care unless you make the time. You know, you don't have time to, you know, uh, you know, be your best version unless you choose to make that time, you know, because kids are 24/7. Like, I was sick last week, Christine, but I still had to be a mum. I didn't get sick days off, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's never ending sort of thing. So we have to give ourselves that permission that, you know, what we're doing is enough, and we have to be okay with that. We have to be at peace with that, you know, because we don't see what's happening behind closed doors for other families. We might see what's happening on socials, and we might see what's happening, you know, what they want to post, but we don't see what happens behind closed doors. So it starts within ourselves. We need to be okay with how much we're doing and how we're doing it, and that's the peace that we find as mums, as women, you know, when we do become mums.
Exactly. It's like if you get out of bed today, you're doing a great job. Because like when you're down and out, like that's literally what you can do. And if you have to order takeaway, you order takeaway because you're still feeding your children, but it's okay. Like, you know, the pressure off it. I think I love what you're talking about, you know, how in social media, it's almost like we have to take the filter off and we actually need to get back to reality and know that there's social media and we can put filters and all of that beautiful stuff on there. But like you said, behind the closed doors, this is reality. And let's actually having those honest, open conversations, but do it in a way where it's non-judgmental, it's supportive, and it's encouraging, and just letting people know that it's safe to talk about it.
It is, because we'd be surprised how many people would, you know, say, "Oh, that happened to me last week," or you know what I mean. Like, as you said, being real, I think, is the best way to be, because we live in a very, very different world.
Mm, yeah, definitely. Now, with obviously, you know, with what you do in your business, obviously then also being a mum, and you talked about plan B. How much more emphasis is that when you talk to your clients? Because, you know, when you've obviously got your steps and your process in it, but like you said, you were sick last week. What was your plan B? And I think sometimes like we always think about business, but we don't think about what life events could actually help maybe halt or put a stumbling block inside of that as well.
So I think the thing with Plan B is, so for example, one of my values is family. Okay, and so if my child got sick, my clients would be understanding of that. And you know, if I got sick, you know, they'd be understanding of it. So I think one of the things that I sort of work with, you know, when I work with people, is that they have the same values as me, and I think that makes a massive difference, because people will understand when your children are sick or when I'm sick, because it's autumn, you know, and we're having a very strange autumn at the moment, you know, and it's flu season and it's COVID season again all of a sudden, you know. But I think just that communication, to be able to say, you know, to your clients, look, I'm not well today, and just knowing if there is anything that they're waiting on, if there is a deadline to meet, to just sort of discuss that deadline, or, you know, if it's something non-urgent, then it can wait, you know. And a lot of my clients get that, Christine. They get that if you get sick, what can you do? They get sick, at the end of the day. But it's just shuffling things around and making sure. And look, when I'm sick, I don't exactly, sit in bed all day. I'm not going to lie, right? I'm not one of those people. I will get on my laptop a couple of times a day, just make sure that everything is going the way it should be going. But then I'm learning to rest. I'm not going to say that I have, I've learned it. I'm learning to rest because that's what gets us better, right? It's the rest, it's the recovery. And unfortunately, you can't do that when you have kids around. So it's got to happen during the week, when they're at daycare or they're at school or whatever it is. And giving yourself that permission as well, Christine, like it really has to be a conscious thing because it's so easy to, when you jump on the hamster wheel, you just go, 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 So it took me 2 weeks in order for my body to go, enough. You're not going to get away with it. You're getting a cold and it's going to be aggressive as hell. You need to rest. So that's what I did. I started relying on my partner, on my husband more because I'm like, look, I feel really out. And for me to say that, that's a pretty big deal, So you've got to rely on whoever you have around you as well. And as you said, Christine, earlier, asking for help is, it's not a weakness. It's a sign of, it's a strength. And I learned that when I became a mum, that, you need to be able to ask for help, because we're one person at the end of the day, and if we've got a kid that's, up in the night for whatever reason and that sort of thing, that's going to bring our immune system down, so the smallest thing that they bring home from school or daycare or whatever it is, we're bound to catch it, so, and that's why looking after ourselves is so important. That's why I emphasize it in the book, because it's one of those lessons that I'm still learning, right? Like I've mentioned self-care, but I'm also learning to rest when I do feel under the weather and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's in our it's in our DNA that we've got to do it all. We've got to be able to look after the house, to look after the kids and do all of that. Well, you know what? I don't think in this day and age, I don't think it's the way it should be. We need to look after ourselves first, because if we can't put that oxygen mask first on us, we're not going to be able to put it on them. And that analogy, Christine, that took me a long time to wrap my head around. I'm like, no way. I would put it on my child, with my child comes first sort of thing, until you really sit down and think, well, you don't want to be passed out while your child's got the mask on, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think like there's so much in that you said, because it's like giving ourselves permission, it's asking for help, but it's also to knowing who you can rely on and having a good support structure around you. And that's in life and in business too. And I think like what you're offering for people in business, I think a lot of people forget that you don't have to do it all alone. You can actually go and ask somebody who has already paved the way or have learned from it, from multiple experiences, to actually go, you know what? We don't have all the answers. And a lot of people think that, we have to follow one pathway. You don't. And that's in life, that's in business as well. And it's just sort of, I guess it's like asking for directions at any little, like when you come to a crossroad at anything in life, business, being a mum, all of those things. Just go, oh, can you tell me which is the best way? What's the best thing I can do?
Exactly. And that takes practice, Christine. It takes a lot of practice, because it's so easy to go, no, I'll work it out, or I'll figure it out, or whatever it may be. But we've just got to be conscious of it. I think there's a lot that, as moms, we need to be conscious of. Like this morning, I asked myself, Christine, did I eat something? Because I was so busy trying to get, my daughter ready for school. It was freezing. There was just so many things on the list. I had to wash her clothes. I had to, the things you do, right, in the background. And I asked myself when I got back and I sat down ready to start my day, I asked myself, did I eat something?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's right, I had a banana, so I'm going to keep going for now. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah. It is. It's
always full on, like
always. Life is so busy. I literally wrote a post this morning and I said, I call everything like a blip on the radar. Jay Shetty says it so well. It's like your heartbeat, like you go up and down, up and down. You've got to enjoy the ups and you've got to enjoy the downs with it. But everything is a moment. Everything is just literally a moment. And, enjoying the highs, the lows of that moment in life.
Exactly. And I think the low moments are meant to teach us a lesson. It might not be straight away, Christine, what that lesson is, but they do, and I look back now over the last 4 years and I think everything that happened, it happened for a reason. We might not know straight away, but when you sit and you reflect and you go, oh, okay, this happened because of this, things just tend to come together.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, like I hit a really rough spot in business last year and I was like, I feel like the universe is testing me. And I sort of rode the wave and I put my head down and I was working on my business. And then this year it came to fruition as to why that was happening. And I realized what I need to do to take that next step forward.
I love that so much because I think in everything, and especially business, like it's hard work. I I always say to people, if you go into business, it is the biggest personal development course that you will ever go on because you're going to learn so much about yourself over that journey that you've probably ever learned before.
Absolutely. It's like having a second child, right?
Yes.
You're navigating the waters because every child is unique and different, right? You're navigating the waters. And as you said, I think before you can have business growth, I always say this, Christine, you have to have that self-growth. Because if you don't have that self-growth, you can't grow a business. And that's the honest truth. And there's no shortcuts in business as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with your business, what is next?
As in,
like any exciting plans for your business?
for my business, so I am writing the sequel to this book. So I've officially said it. So I have to do it now. Um, and that's part of the business journey as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be focused more on business as well. Um, I was actually thinking about this last night. We're already in June. We're almost in June. We're halfway through the year, Christine. I don't know where the time is going, but it's going so fast. And I was really reflecting what do I want next for my business? And I'm going to start creating digital products because I think it's a way of taking me out of the equation where people will still have my knowledge and their assistance in what they need. And it's a passive income, which I highly recommend for any business owner to make the time to add to their business portfolio, because it's an easy gateway to sort of getting that understanding of what I'm about and how you can work with me, sort of thing. So that's part of it. It's going to be a focus. I'm also focusing on awards at the moment, which take a lot of time. And the other thing is the sequel to this book. I'm really looking forward to starting that as well.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for what's to come. I'm going to pop all the details of how people can reach out to you. I highly encourage you to read Steph's book. And, obviously it's a conversation that we constantly need to have, and just to let people know that you're not alone. Before we go, I'm going to ask you 5 random questions. So do you prefer to travel by train or by plane?
Can I say boat?
A boat. Oh, yes. Yes. Love it. I love it. Are you a country girl or a beach girl? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Red wine or cocktails?
That's a dangerous question. Cocktails? I'd say cocktails, but red wine in the winter because it keeps you nice and warm, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Okay. The other thing is, are you a movie person, like go to the cinema, or do you rather curl up with a book?
I don't really get time to do either these days. But curl up with a book.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Summer or winter?
When I became a mum, summer. So
Yeah.
definitely summer. because they get sick so often, right? And
I
then you
know.
get sick, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I can't keep up.
I know. I know. Yeah, I love it. Well, Steph, you are a true delight. You really are just someone who is just shining so bright, and I am very excited. I love working with you, and just, your passion just shines through. And I really highly encourage anyone, you can go and actually read part of Steph's article in the current issue, the April issue of the Corporate Escapists magazine. We'll put a link of how you can work with Steph, or reach out to her to buy a copy of her book. And if you're a mum, I highly recommend you get it, because you will definitely feel like you are not alone. So, Steph, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for sharing your gifts.
Thank you so much, Christine. It's been a blast.
Thank you to everybody who has watched this episode of the Corporate Escapist TV show. Remember to live life to the fullest and to follow your passion. Love and light to you all.